Messed up the hood there. What is going on, beautiful people of the world? Welcome back to the Garrett Wolf Podcast. This is the #1 show for people who are trying to go from skinny fat to fizz fit freak, all without giving up their favorite modalities of their lives. So, in this episode, I believe this is episode 3, depending on what order I'm going to be releasing these episodes in. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about why you need a high status destiny as a man, especially if you want to be a high value man or a high status man, or seen, in the eyes of other men as competition or someone, even worth mentioning. So firstly, I want to thank you all for joining me here today. I'm super duper excited to get this episode rolling for you guys. So if at any point during this episode you value what I'm saying and think, what I'm giving out to the world is valuable, then make sure to drop a follow on the podcast. Make sure to take a screenshot, share it to your Instagram stories, and tag me at _Garrett Wolf. And I'll send you over a free gift. I'll send you over my free ebook or my macronutrient PDF. I got a few free things that I could send your way for exchanging, broadcasting my name to your audience. So thank you guys so much. Regardless, even if you don't do that, thank you guys for tuning in, giving me the time of day, because I really love doing this podcast here for you guys. I think this is super fun. I have never done long form, conversation content, if you will. The only thing I've ever done are like YouTube vlogs and things like that. Nothing like sitting in front of the camera and just, spieling out your thoughts. Just super laid back, nothing too serious, nothing too strict. We're just here talking as men, as boys, or women, but I doubt women would want to listen to me because we're talking about high status men things here. And if you are a woman though, I commend you. Thank you for listening to the other side, because not a lot of women do that these days. So it's really nice that you're listening. But for all you high status men out there, or just any men right now, because we're not talking about high status men specifically right now, if you're a man out there right now, and you want to be high status, can you just raise your hand for me, or give me a little head nod while you're listening there at home? Just raise your hand, give me a little head nod if you're a man and you want to be high status. So, in this world, guys, if you want to be a high status man, you need quite a multitude of things, right? You're going to need not only to be attractive, and if you're not, then you're going to have to fix that, but also you have to have something that you're working towards, like a goal or a vision, right? You want to be competitive, right? You don't want to be just someone who participates, right? The participant never gets the girl at the end of the day, right, guys? It has to be the winner, the superhero, right? You need to have status symbols, as in you need to show to the world that you are of value in some way. You need to be witty, you need to be smart, you need to be funny, charismatic, charming, all these things, right, to become, to become Prince Charming or a high status, high value man, right? And so, why would you want to be a high status man? Well, think about it. Would you want to be a low status man? I mean, a low status human? That doesn't sound very appealing, right? I don't really get it, because I know... Sorry. A lot of people come to me and they tell me, like, why should I be high stat, or why should I even try? Why even try? What's the point? Guys, have you ever heard the saying, if you live an easy life, your life's going to be hard, but if you live a hard life, then your life's going to be easy? I found that to be incredibly true in my life specifically. I mean, if you don't have a goal, if you don't have a dream or a vision or something you're working towards, then it's incredibly easy to feel depressed. It's incredibly easy to get down on yourself, because you quite literally have nothing to live for. I mean, if you really think about it, like, you have nothing to look forward to when you wake up. I'm not talking about things that give temporary satisfaction, like drugs, alcohol, girls, sex, maybe violence for some of you if you're really toxic, or, the gym. It's a good escape, but it's not going to bring long-term satisfaction. It'll bring you short-term satisfaction and open the doors for opportunities for long-term satisfaction, or things like video games, all the kinds of shit that people do every day. It's just not going to bring you long-term satisfaction. You need a dream or a vision or a goal that you perceive as high value that you're working towards. For example, mine is I want to transform 1,000 skinny fat men into fizz fit freaks. Not just men, women too, but I just use the framework as men because that's the audience that I'm speaking to, right? That's the audience that resonates most with me as a 21-year-old young man. Surprise, surprise. Men gravitate towards me more than women do. Super Shocking, isn't it? But, I mean, back to the high status destiny thing. If you don't have a goal and you're wondering why you're waking up depressed every morning, then I'm here to tell you that, I mean, of course you're depressed. It's an evolutionary biological system that your brain is literally telling you. It's screaming in your ear, you need to make a change. Something needs to change. This isn't right. We don't feel good. We don't feel good. We're depressed. We're anxious, something's wrong. If you're anxious, it's because you haven't lived that experience enough. And if anxiety is something that keeps coming up in your life, then it means that you're experiencing something over and over again that you haven't faced, right? It's something you're fearing. It's a deep-rooted fear. That's what anxiety is. That's what it feels like when you have anxiety, right? That heart palpitation, the heart kind of sinks into your stomach feeling. I found that when you feel that as a man, it's a signal from your body telling you that you need to act. You need to be brave. You need to show bravery, because being a man is not about not being scared. Being a man is about being scared and doing it anyway, right? Execution. Men execute. We don't think about it. We just execute. We're logical beings. And we know that if we want to be high status, or we want to achieve this vision, dream, goal, whatever, then we need to execute. We can't just sit back and watch, because we know as men that sitting back and watching accomplishes nothing. Basically, it does absolutely nothing for you but keep you where you are. And like I said, if you're staying where you are and you're not progressing every day, and you're not moving towards a dream, goal, vision, then you're going to be incredibly depressed and incredibly anxious. Just imagine for a second how your life would be different if whenever you felt anxious or scared or depressed, you knew that it was your time to execute. You knew that when you had that feeling, it was your time, it was your moment, it was your, place in the world, in the universe, to execute at that moment. Because that's what I've trained my brain to think. And now, as I go through my life and I find more of these experiences that I might be scared of or frightened of, the glorious thing is, have you guys ever noticed that after the first 1 or 2 times you do something new, the third and fourth time are incredibly easy? Like you make miles or exponential progress on the first one and second time of doing something, right? You learn a lot and you become a lot better at that thing the first 1 and 2 times that you do it. And then the third and fourth time you do it, it's like that repetition, right? It starts getting easier. You pick up on 100 new things the first and second time, and then the third and fourth time you might pick up on 25 to 50 new things, and you only actually implement 1 or 2, right? That's the 80-20 principle, 20% of what you perceive to, say you have a to-do list, right? What you perceive, the tasks that you perceive you need to get done to accomplish your goal. The 80-20 principle states that 20% of those are going to move you 80% of the way along the track, and 80% of those to-do goals are going to move you 20% on the track. So basically, it's about specificity and learning what you need to actually execute on and get done in order to make some progress towards your dream or your vision or your goal. So that's the idea, right? That's the idea. And if you spend your life not making goals, not having dreams, not having visions, then you're just going to regret, on your deathbed when you're 80, you're going to regret not moving towards any of those goals, because what's a little bit of anxiety when you're laying on your bed dying, trying to think about if your life was worth it or not, right? Trying to think about if you lived a valuable life. What's a little bit of anxiety compared to that? I mean, that's terrifying. To me, regret is the most painful emotion on the planet. I literally can't think of an emotion that is as painful as regret. You guys know that feeling when you get home after like a sports game, or like after seeing like a pretty girl out and about, or you had an argument with some dumb motherfucker who's just like pissing you off, right? And you get home and you're like, you think of something that you could have said, or you wish you went up to that girl, or you wish you tried a little bit harder, because that feeling, or the pain of trying a little bit harder would be nothing compared to the pain you're feeling in your heart, that you're feeling, that regret. It's just feels like there's a unseen hand gripping your heart from the inside and just squeezing it. That's kind of how regret feels for me. So I never want to feel that, and that's why every day I try my absolute best to move forward in my dreams, goals, and ambitions. That's why, my vision is transforming 1,000 skinny fat men into fit freaks. And they don't have to be skinny fat. That's just a framework, obviously. I just want 1,000 before and after transformations that I personally helped with and trained people. And I want to impact the universe and help people who are just like me. That's why I got the podcast. That's why I'm doing YouTube. That's why I upload twice a day on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. I post once a day on Instagram. Other than the reels, I post once a day on Spotify, every day on YouTube. That's why I'm across all platforms doing everything I possibly can. I'm on stories every day. I do everything in my power basically to get my face and my message in front of as many people as I possibly can. Even though I know that a lot of people may or may not agree with what I have to say, they may or may not like what I have to say, they may or may not like me. And that's a complete inevitability, guys. How you know if you're actually moving towards a high status destiny is if people hate you. Because if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for everything. So if nobody has a negative emotion towards you, then that means you're not grounded, or you don't have a rock hard cemented opinion about anything. That means you're kind of floating around life, going with the flow, accepting this, accepting that, not really giving your 2 cents anywhere. And I get it, right? I get it, because men are so heavily depressed, or not depressed, but they are depressed, but they're also suppressed these days, right? I know how hard it is to be a man when you're in social scenes and you want to say something that you might think is funny, but you're afraid you might offend someone, or people are just so wishy-washy, titchy-tatchy, right? They just fucking, I don't even know what that means, but people are just so fucking emotional, right? You're afraid that you say some shit, you get in trouble. Maybe you're at school, you say some shit, you get called to the principal's office and get expelled, right? Or you say some shit online and then people cancel you and you might get fired from a job, or people can make up lies about you and ruin your whole life overnight. It's such a scary world here in the West for the modern day man, and that's why I'm here trying to spread positivity, trying to spread my message, trying to keep as many as you guys as I possibly can motivated and energetic towards life, because so many people are kind of just giving up, as testosterone is lowering and lowering, as our culture is becoming more and more feminized. Men are just kind of giving up, giving into the movement, giving into empowering in quotes all people, when really it's just sucking the power from the modern day man and spreading it out to people who are undeserving and unwilling to harness said power and use it to move our culture and our energy in a direction that would be advantageous for the rest of the world. We're just turning into quite the selfish country, and it's honestly, it's pretty sad. And I'm not an expert, right? I don't know a whole lot about everything, but I know what I see and I know what I hear and I know what is being taught to me. I know what's kind of being forced upon me. I know what kind of mindsets are being kind of inserted and injected into my head kind of without me knowing. That's the indoctrination of man, right? The indoctrination in schools and education systems. And it's just crazy how much more it's being pushed in the West rather than compared to everywhere else. That's why I'm really hoping to be able to travel the world. All this kind of bear bug stuff just ended. I don't want to say the word, but all this kind of stuff just ended, and we're finally getting travel restrictions lifted and things, and we can go wherever we want. And I finally got my passport updated and ready to go. So I'm planning on traveling the world and helping people. That's why I do an online job. That's why I'm the CEO of my FizFit Freak LLC company. That's why I like to run everything myself, because any form of oppression keeps you inside of the indoctrination system. That's why I don't work a job. That's why I decided to drop out of college and figure it all out on my own, because I want to travel the world and see frameworks, mindsets, and perspectives from all people, not just the Western, modern media culture, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the agenda that's being pushed and injected into our minds is. I want to be able to see the big picture. I want to go to all the countries and see what they have to say about the world, see how they go about their lives, see how they're living, see how happy they are, compare it to how happy we are over here, and really find out for myself what the best way to live and what the best frameworks and perspectives are. And that's all you can really do. Just don't dedicate, or don't 100% buy into frameworks and mindset perspectives that you hear online. Even my framework and mindset here, don't just subscribe and dedicate yourself to one way of thinking, because you need to kind of absorb and understand all perspectives and all ways of thinking to decide what the best course of action for you, for your actions would be, for your lifestyle, for your goals, habits, dreams, and ambitions. You need to kind of take all the mindset, framework, perspectives and inject them into your brain to kind of figure out what areas of your life can be improved, just so you're not a slave. There's so many people today that I would call slaves, where they just hear something and they're like, oh, like 100% believe it, right? They don't question anything. They just hear something and they just believe it. And that's the slave mind coming to kill you. I swear to God, if you hear something like, when all this I don't want to get political, right? But when all this mask stuff started to happen, my girlfriend at the time came to me and she was like, oh, have you heard on the news, like, all this crazy shit, we need to start wearing masks, we can't go anywhere, we need to lock down in our house for 2 weeks, 14 days, right, which turned into 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, we need to stay in our house, panicking, and I was like, dude, like, literally nothing changed in my real life. It's just because you read a headline or read something online that completely scared you and shattered your entire reality, your entire existence. Like, don't push that upon me. Like, just don't believe everything you hear, guys. Don't believe everything you see right away. Question it. Just think about it. Think if it makes sense. You know, run it in your mind and figure out if it makes sense for yourself. And, you know, that's how you or a high status man. You don't just take things from other people, take mindsets and 100% prescribe and make yourself dogmatic towards their way of thinking. You take their frameworks, you digest them, and you apply them to your own life. And that's why you need a high status destiny as a man, because if you don't, you're going to be suppressed, your testosterone's going to lower, you're going to become a soy boy, and you're never going to accomplish any kind of dream or goal that you have in this life, because life is cruel, the world is a tough place, and if you don't fight back, you're going to get chewed up, spit out, and absolutely dogged on. So, I'd like to thank you all for tuning into the Garrett Wolf Podcast. This is the #1 show for skinny fat men who want to go from skinny fat to phys fit freak without giving up all their favorite modalities of life. So if you enjoyed this episode, again, screenshot it, share it to your Instagram story, tag me at _Garrett Wolf, and I'll give you guys a nice little free gift for shouting me out. Thank you all for tuning in today. I'll see you all in the next episode, and thanks for the support. Love you guys. See you later.